Diddy took out Biggie Smalls because he was leaving Bad Boy Records. We're going to go ahead and deep dive this now that so much more information has come out from people that worked inside Bad Boy that Biggie was really getting ready to leave Diddy. So a few months ago, Rolling Stone did that huge bombshell of an article about Diddy, and several people from Bad Boy corroborated the long-standing rumor that Biggie Smalls wanted to leave the label. People that were around Diddy and who worked at Bad Boy said that Diddy was in a legal battle with the rapper's lawyer over publishing rights to Biggie Smalls' music. The same information has been said by Diddy's ex-bodyguard Gene Deal for years. Now, if Diddy knew that Biggie was going to leave and try to get back all of his publishing and marketing rights, that would have left Diddy with not making any income from his #1 artist. Just think about it for a minute. What other way can you make sure that your artist doesn't leave your label, taking back their marketing and publishing, which is what's making you a shit ton of money? Think about it this way. For over 25 years, Diddy continued to get Biggie's publishing after he passed away that continued to make him millions of dollars. Oh, and Diddy's very calculated, so let's say that he is the one that allegedly took out Tupac Shakur. What is the best way to make sure Biggie Smalls disappears since he's leaving your label? Oh, of course, blame it on the East and the West Coast rap battle. That's what everybody thought for the longest time. They thought Tupac's murder caused a retaliation for Biggie. We're about to get into exactly what I found that might prove that that's probably not the case. Do you guys remember Russell Poole, the LAPD officer who said that he found out that officers from LAPD were involved in the unaliving of Biggie Smalls? He said David Mack and Officer Perez were the two officers that he found out were at the Peterson Museum the night that Biggie passed away. Now just wait, because we'll get into this a little bit deeper in just a minute. I'm going to show you guys a video of Diddy admitting that he hired off-duty LAPD officers to work that night at the Peterson Museum, which is the one thing that alarmed me to my core, because if you remember, Gene Deal and everybody else said that that night at the Peterson Museum, Diddy didn't even have enough of his personal security to secure Biggie, because Biggie was going to LA after the Tupac thing, so tensions were high. It sounds like you hired these two off-duty officers and told nobody about it.
When we were out there, we had off-duty California police officers as security with us that night that it happened also. And we always have bonded security professionals that are with us.
Now let's jump back into everything that Russell Poole found out during his investigation on the death of Biggie Smalls and how he said he found out that 2 LAPD officers were involved in Biggie's murder.
That's him right there.
And he still works for the probation.
That's him looking at the lineup. That's the guy that came up to me. That guy. That guy right there.
Okay, so we got a witness saying David Mack was there, and now we got a witness saying Harry Billups was there.
Definitely him, though.
Amir Muhammad, a.k.a. Amir Muhammad.
Yep.
This is another example of how incomplete the investigation is and how they have tried everything or done everything to avoid the truth in the matter. These types of statements made by witnesses need to be thoroughly followed up on. And I honestly believe that the players that we're talking about, David Mack and Amir Muhammad, are somehow involved in this case. And the department, time and time again, has avoided the truth. The reason being is because they do not want to expose to the public that Los Angeles police officers were involved in the conspiracy to kill Biggie Smalls.
Russell also suspected Harry Billups, a.k.a. Amir Muhammad, as a possible hitman. He's godfather to Officer Mack's kids.
You had a witness in Biggie's entourage who identified David Mack as being at the Peterson Museum. The car used in the case was a black SS Chevy Impala, and David Mack owned one of those. The fact that David Mack took family illness days off just prior to the Biggie Smalls case, which indicates there had to be some planning, and he couldn't be bothered with going to work.
When Russell Poole took all of this information to the LAPD to tell them that they had dirty officers in their department, they acted like he was crazy and didn't even investigate anything. And then he was left this very weird photo on his desk that said, "You are here, DI's position." Shortly after, they fired him from the LAPD. Russell Poole continued to do investigating work even though he was not law enforcement, and then weirdly enough, he went to take information to the LAPD and he died suspiciously in the LAPD of a heart attack. Now, back before Russell Poole got fired from the LAPD, he believed the connection was through Suge Knight, not through Diddy. But as the years went on, he actually talked to Suge Knight and said that, "I am sorry, I thought it was you." And he said that he thinks it was somebody else that worked with the LAPD to Biggie Smalls. So then I went and pulled up these FBI files on the death of Biggie Smalls, and it said several sources have identified the shooter. It has also been noted by several sources that the LAPD officers attended this party and were seen just prior to the shooting. And we can fill in this blank right here because of Russell Poole. So this was David Mack is the registered owner of a 1995 black SS Impala with chrome wheels, the exact description given as being the driver of Wallace's shooting. Now it also says sources stated that there were other LAPD officers present and were seen talking on cell phones when Biggie Smalls was leaving the party and entering his car. This part is all blurred out, but it says somebody has identified blank, which would be Amir Muhammad, because this is what Gene Deal said, as confronting Biggie Smalls' caravan just prior to his unaliving. It talks about how this could not have been one person that did this to pull this off. It would have had to take a large contingency of people/officers. And then it talks about after a search warrant was served at the residence of David Mack, and it's blurred out, but we know it's David Mack because Russell Poole, it was discovered in his garage that he had a shrine of Tupac and numerous 9mm and ammunitions, LAPD radios, scanners, and other tactical items. It said, note, a 9mm was used to unalive Biggie Smalls with a very rare Gecko 9mm ammunition. And then it goes on to talking about the West and the East Coast War and how all of this stuff was happening. So they believed that Biggie's unaliving was retaliation for Tupac's. And remind you, this war was already happening before either one of them passed away. So I feel like Diddy is so calculated that he allegedly would have played off that. I mean, they're saying he's the one now that offered $1 million to take out Tupac. So if Biggie was getting ready to leave Bad Boy Records, the way you could take him out and make it seem like it was because of retaliation would have been easy. And Diddy literally admitted to hiring officers the night at the Peterson Museum, and everybody missed it. Can't forget that Gene Deal said that he told Diddy that night that he was tipped off that there were people coming from him, and Diddy was acting super weird and looked at him and said, "If you don't want to go, you don't have to go." And Gene Deal kept saying that he couldn't understand why Diddy didn't want to have more security in LA after what had just happened to Tupac. We find out that Biggie's car was marked with stickers when Diddy's car wasn't marked that night. I'm going to go ahead and roll y'all this clip of what Gene Deal had to say about this, and then you guys let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
I never knew it myself, and I didn't know it that night that those stickers was on the car. I didn't know that till years later. But anytime you see any kind of things like that on a vehicle, on a street sign, on a wall, it comes from the street team. So somebody was put up to do that because they didn't put it on Puff Car. So my whole thing about it is that it was somebody in our crew that wanted them to know